Good morning. It's Monday. I feel like I have 1,000 things to do this week and I don't know where to start or what to do first. I have a couple of things that are probably not going to happen because I just don't have time. Our John Deere dealer's having a harvest summit this week on Tuesday and Wednesday. I went to last year where they've got some really cool stuff and they're going to have an X9 there and I wanted to go, but I just don't feel like I have time. So we've got some scouting to do this morning. I've got one of my salesman's bringing out an agronomist this morning to go and look at some fields and look at some of their trials. So I need to pull up some of that data to know what we're looking at. We got to figure out this tar spot issue and whether or not we're going to try and get some of it sprayed again or not. That decision has to be made today. So we're going to look at that here in a little bit. And I need to spend a ton of time doing seed business stuff because we've got some pretty big deadlines coming up in a few weeks. We got time, but I got a lot to do between now and then. So I need to start putting some quotes together, getting them emailed out to guys, printing off, delivering to guys, that kind of stuff. So that's what we're working on this morning. Guess what? I'm in a cornfield. Who would have guessed, right? 30 bushel, he says. We're looking at some of the foliar feed product stuff that I had put on and trying to compare a little bit. But this is non-irrigated corn. It's just one of my other ones, 110 day, that looks really good. I was looking for tar spot. It's not here, at least not very much. We've got some super impressive ears. Just super impressive. Looks good. One thing I am noticing walking through here, I've got some nitrogen deficiency. This is 104 day short stuff here, so big difference in where we sprayed versus where we didn't. All right, this is getting difficult here. So we went and walked some fields with the agronomist and the salesman there for the one company that I've been working with. It's super awkward filming in front of people, so I'll show you some of what we saw. We'll go back into some of these fields here this afternoon or sometime this week and take a look at some stuff. But it's lunchtime. I've got some errands to run, and then we'll come back and find something interesting to do, I hope. All right, I'm back. We're gonna head down to where they're tiling. Dad's working down there, check stuff out. I'm gonna try and film a little bit of it because, well, it sounds like today's the last day of tiling and I haven't really showed you guys the process and how that works very close. So we'll go down there and check that out right now. All right, we'll go out there and see where they're plowing and watch that process here in a minute. Looks like they got a couple of start holes dug, so I'm gonna check in with Dad and we'll talk to him. See, but yeah, they've got a few lines in. I should have brought the drone. That could have seen it from the air a little bit better. Explained it. All right, so let's talk about drain tile, and we're going to talk about the system and how this works here. But essentially, what we're doing is putting perforated plastic pipe in the ground. It allows the excess water to drain off of the soil through these underground pipes and into the ditch or river. So this is a main. This looks like an 8, maybe a 10. And if you look at it real close, you'll see that there is a slit cut in this pipe right here. That is how the water gets into that. So we use big pipe like this for mains. And so if we come over here to where this standpipe is, or this not a standpipe, this marker, we should see the end of a tile sticking out of here somewhere, right down there. So, try not to fall in. Oh yeah, she's flowing. So right there is the water coming out the end of the tile. And you'll note that it is very clean water. Okay, so that's flowing into the ditch here and off to the river. So that metal outlet there is attached to a piece of that plastic 8. Dad said it was an 8. And it runs up here, kind of where past the gator and where all those dirt piles are, follows the white flags, and then curves over towards where he's at with the backhoe now. There's a sub main, which is probably a 6, that kind of tees off somewhere right in here and goes that way. It was put in a long time ago. And then all those lines that were just put in there tie into that. So that water drains this way to about where we're standing, turns, and goes into the ditch. Now, I know in some areas drain tile is very controversial for some reason. I don't know. Talking to you guys in Minnesota out there. But what it does is essentially draining the excess water. So we're not trying to drain all the water off the field, but our soils, especially here, can naturally hold quite a bit of water in them, right? It's the pore space in the soil gets filled up with water. And an ideal soil is 50% particulate matter, 25% water, and 25% air. It's when you have all of that air pore space filled up with water, and maybe you're 50% water, 50% air, that then you have excess moisture and you need to drain some of that out, let some air back into that soil so that the microbes can breathe and the soil can breathe. And so the soil will not give up more moisture than what it can hold on to, and it holds on to enough for the roots and the plants can then take that up to use it for what, you know, crops use moisture for. So we're not trying to completely dry it out, but our soils are so tight that the water doesn't drain through them very well, and so we need to give it that conduit and that channel to get out of the field and into the ditches. You'll note how clear that water was coming out of the tile. Well, that's because the ground is a filter, right? So while the water running off the surface may be muddy and it's picking up some of that sediment from the dirt and everything, by the time it filters down through the soil and gets to that drain tile, it's filtered out all that sediment, and it is clear, good, clean water coming out of that. Any nutrients that are in it are getting filtered out through the soil particles. And so it's actually good. We're not polluting by putting water in, as a common misconception is that it's taking mud and particulate matter and our nutrients right out through the drain tile. Well, that's not true. It's filtering all that stuff out and leaving it in the fields. So we were in this field the other day and we talked about, we got these alternating flags, white, orange, white, orange. The white are where there are existing tile. You can see we had dug that up, pushed it back shut now, but there is already a string of tile that is in here in the middle. It was put in 1980, according to my dad, and they were on like 50 to 60 foot centers, 50 to 60 feet apart. That's too wide for most of what we do. So what we have done is come in and split the middles. Look at that big rock we got over there. Let's go check it out. Let's see if we can bounce over this. And we've essentially cut the tile spacings in half. Look at that one. We can find a use for that, I suppose. Landscaping stone somewhere. Nice big flat one. Look at that. These fields over here have they got some rocks. Okay, so we're on the other end of the field from where we started now. And all these drain tile, they kind of end right in here, and then they're draining that way to the south, back to that main and then into the ditch. Well, that main had curved around and follows some of these flags and goes up that way over by the woods there, and we're trying to figure out where exactly to go with some of these tile that we're putting in, because we need some more right along the edge of the woods. There's a wet spot there, and that's what we're trying to figure out right now. Caught another rock. Anytime they catch a rock, they put a flag or they mark it, and then you got to dig it up and make sure that the tile doesn't have a hump in it, because so this tile, we're putting it under the ground, but the tile is always laid with a little bit of slope, so it's always running downhill. So when the ground elevation changes on the surface, you have to be deeper or shallower in order to maintain a grade on that tile so that it always flows back to the river. And if you hit a rock or something, you make it a little hump in it, and then the water doesn't flow, and that essentially limits the capacity of the tile that we're putting in. So let's look and see what we got in this hole. Okay, so here's that main. That's the same tile that we had over there back at the ditch, and you'll see we've got this wire pushed up in there. They have a tile finder that is basically like a utility line locator. You stick that in there, and then you got a wand you can wave on top of the ground and follow where it goes. So they pushed that in as far as it'll go, or almost, and then I assume that the flag here and the white flag down by that truck is where it goes, and that's the main. So we're kind of paralleling that with this run that they're putting in now, and trying to determine where that goes, and then planning from there. Now this one, it appears, is going to be a start hole. Looks like we had a clay tile that got dug up here, and the old tile, when the old timers did this back in the 40s to 70s, they used clay. I'll try and talk about that at some point if I can find some pieces and show you exactly how that works. But no, that's plastic. That looks like our main again, so maybe it comes up there and it actually is curving. Oh, it's going that way. It's following those white flags over that way. That's what it does. goes up towards that old schoolhouse over there. So anyway, so when we need to hook into it, they put in a tap T there. They cut a 4-inch hole in it, slide that in, and then the 4-inch tile that we use for our laterals, we'll hook onto that. We'll have a little curve, and then they'll set their plow in right here and start going that way. So you can see here the main is probably, what are we, 3.5 feet deep in this spot. We want to try and maintain minimum of 24 inches, but closer to 30 inches of cover on our tile if possible. So that water's got to filter down through 3 feet of dirt a lot of times just to get to the tile, to get in there and start draining off. So yeah, they're not plowing at the moment, but when they do, I'll start filming that and show you how it works, exactly putting it in. Here is our roll of the drain tile. This is the 4-inch that we use for laterals. You can see all the slits in it that actually allow the water into the tile. It's 4-inch corrugated plastic. And all of the laterals, or the runs that are, you know, spaced 30 feet apart or whatever, are 4-inch plastic. That's what we use. I know in some places they use 3-inch if they're going super tight spacings, like 15 or 20 feet. And then we use bigger tile, 6, 8, 12, all the way up to 24 or 36 if we have to, for mains, depending on how many acres they are draining and how much water is running through them. So I believe this here is an 8. There's a rock they just dug out. Looks like that one screwed up this tile, so they stopped, cut it off, fixed it there, and they're actually going to hook back on and keep this one running. So he's dug enough to get the boot on the plow in there. I think he's going to back it in here, so we'll watch here. So the tile comes off the roll in the front. It's got a feeder, another feeder, comes out through the boot on the bottom. There's a V on it, so it makes a perfect trench for it to fit down into. So he's got to get that boot down so that it's on grade and get it flat before he can take off and get it in just the right spot. The whole thing will pitch up and down to control depth once they get it in. I mean, there's a big linkage in there that allows them to pitch it and control the depth. You're not lifting and lowering the whole thing to get it, so change your depth and elevation. You pitch it in order to maintain grade when it's in the ground. So now it's just a matter of getting on grade and then getting going. Sounds like they need to move their laser, so they're not going to go very far here. Use the bed and connection just so that it doesn't pull apart here as they go. Get the boot under the ground and it starts lifting, and you can see the nice V that the bottom of the plow is creating there, and we'll get it buried in a second. There it goes. Yeah, they're going to stop and move their laser. So the problem here is that the tile map shows some tile runs running this way, east and west, from the edge of this woods to the north here, but we can't find them. And so we kind of want to run that lateral that they're putting in right now and just keep going straight through if the ground and the grade will allow it to do so. You can see Dad dug here quite a ways and never found one. I don't know what these flags are, if that's where they're supposed to be or what, but it says they can't find them. So, but if we go this way, we're going to cut right through them and then essentially cut them off, and they'll be no good. Now, if we can maintain grade and keep them underground, we'll just put new ones in and forget the old ones, not worry about it. They're short runs anyway. So our main comes up over there. There's a white flag that comes all the way up over there, and then there's a 4 that comes through right here, cuts this trench on an angle, and it follows these white stakes, curves around, runs along the property line. So that's this one on this end. The question then is, do we find the ones going this way, or do we cut them off and put new ones in going that way? I don't know. Not my job to figure it out. That's Dad and the tile guy are doing that. I am sure that somebody's going to ask, why don't we have our own tile plow and put our own tile in? A lot of other people do that. A lot of other ag YouTubers do that. Well, we've thought about it in the past, but we have a very, very good local tile crew that does this, and they have put some tile in the ground for us every year since 1980 or 81. Like, we're good. If they want to keep doing it, we're going to support them and have them keep doing it because they're very good at what they do. We like working with them, and you know, they're here and they know it better than we do. So it's a little less work for us. Dad's always around and helping them doing backhoe work and trying to do as much as he can to support the process, but it's just easier to have them do it. Yeah, we could probably save a little bit of money by buying a tile plow. So it's supporting a neighbor that runs this business and does a good job kind of thing. Just talking to Dad there. So these flags here, they never actually found the tile. There are 3 that run on these ends that they did find, but those are flowing that way. And so he just kind of stepped it off or wheeled off where the spacing should be, but then he dug 70 feet in between them and never found them. So I guess we don't actually know that there are more tile back there. And so we're abandoning anything that may or may not be there, I guess. They're going to cap them and plow through them and put new tile in. It is what it is. We've got plenty of tile. It is expensive, but by the time we screwed around trying to find those in the waste of 2 days, it's better and cheaper just put new ones in and be done with it. While they're figuring that stuff out over there, can't see it anymore, I came over to the ditch. We're on the other side of it, the field where we were tiling clear back in that corner earlier. But I mentioned briefly in one of the videos last week that the neighbor that's got the bean field on the other side of us here wants to get a new main in to drain their stuff. And so this is their excavator. They've been doing some surveying or trying to figure out where stuff goes. And it actually works out pretty well here because we actually have 2 mains. We have a main right here that's a big one. And it goes out, follows the orange flags, and then it eventually curves and goes to the north. And then we have another one right over here that kind of parallels it for a while and then goes up towards where that tractor is over there, to the west. And so if they can come out right in between here, they can split those 2 and not actually cut off any of our tile, which would be ideal for everybody. Because if they cut them, they have to fix them. And if they can stay between them, then they don't have to worry about it quite so much. So they have their flags marked and kind of found them and everything where it's at. So they're waiting for tile to come in, and then they're going to come in and do that. So Phil's over there doing some mowing, but I just was curious what we had here. So you can see the 2 sets of flags that they can come right between with that new main, and then somewhere right in here it actually curves and kind of follows this depression up that way towards where the backhoe is back over there. But then there's a sub main that comes off of that and continues to parallel the other one, and you can see that they've got them marked here. I'm just kind of working my way up there, seeing what we've got and looking down in their holes. They dug it up a lot. I don't know why they had to dig it up so many times versus running that probe through and just finding it, but it's right down in there. They didn't really uncover it a lot, but anyway, it should work. There should be enough room to sneak a 3rd main in right between them. Yeah, so over here where they're running parallel, this one's actually an old clay main right there. People have asked me how clay tile works and how the water gets in. It's really hard for me to show you because, well, we can't dig it up enough, but right there is the best I can do. That's the joint between 2 pieces of clay, and you can see that I can just about get my finger in there. That's probably a little wider of a joint than what you want to see. But the water sneaks in between the gats. Each piece is a foot or 18 inches long, and the water goes in the cracks between them. So anyway, they keep going that way. So it looks like as we get towards the property line here, those 2 flag rows are kind of coming together just about to the same spot here. We'll look and see what's in this hole. I don't know if they'll have anything uncovered or not. Yeah, it looks like they pushed it kind of back shut, but there's a plastic there and something here, I guess. There's another hole. What do we got over here? A hole. But these are their beans, and you can see it's lower over there. And so there's an acre or 2 here that they were unable to drain because these mains that they're draining through, I think this side, it's not low enough. There's not enough cover in order to do that. And so they want to put a new one in that's lower to be able to get more cover over their tile and be able to tile this hole out. So we're not really a part of this project. We're just giving them access to be able to do it, and it's fine with us. Well, we had a cornfield right across the road from where we're tiling, so I haven't looked at it all year. I thought, let's go take a look. And this field here has got some river bottom ground on the back here that was sort of wet when we planted. This was one of the later planted fields. It was done the 14th, I believe, of May, which was towards the tail end of it for me anyway. So I thought we'd come out here and see what we got. 104-day corn. Some of our earlier stuff was sprayed with a tassel fungicide, and part of the field, part where we're at, was also sprayed V5 with Quadris. Well, we happen to be in a Haggy track row. You can see the tire tracks. This corn looks a little healthier on the bottom than some of the other stuff we were in today. We've got some corn that's firing pretty good, and I hate to think that I shorted my crop nitrogen, but it sort of appears that way, so we will see. Of course, we've got a tremendous crop that's using a lot of nitrogen, which we don't always bank on. So this plant is pretty healthy. You can see little spots like this. I almost think that's some northern corn leaf blight that the fungicide actually shut down, and they didn't continue to develop, because usually those lesions are quite a bit bigger. Other than that, man, these leaves look healthy. I don't see much of anything out here. I'd have to look at when this was sprayed, but it was the later window, maybe the 20th of July. I don't see any tar spot. It's got to be here. It's got to be here. I can find it. I'm sure I can find it. There's one. There's one. We found a tar spot. Not bad though. Really, really healthy plant type. All right, we need to look at some ears. Okay, I was in a field with the same variety earlier today. I wish I would have filmed more. I should have, because there's some significant differences. Even though this looks better, there's better stand. We don't have any gaps in it and stuff, but the ears are not as good, and here's why. Tip back. Look at that tip back. Significant tip back, and I believe the reason is this was planted 3 weeks later than the other field that I was in today, and that 3 weeks, especially at pollination window, we got dry when this one was pollinating, or just after it pollinated. We aborted kernels off. Those pollinated and then died off. This one we got a big tip that didn't pollinate, and the other one, the ears were much longer. Now this corn is always a long, skinny ear type. It doesn't get real fat, real big around. I can put my hand all the way around it, but it flexes in length, and when we stress it at the wrong time, we lose that length. So I'm not saying it's bad corn. I'm just saying that I think the earlier planted stuff is going to be better. We got more rows on this one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. That doesn't look bad. We'll see. It's really good corn. I think we have really good corn. I still think the early planting is going to prevail big time this year. It is muggy out here in these cornfields. Hot. I read a stat the other day, a couple weeks ago. I don't remember when it was exactly, but a cornfield can sweat through respiration like 1,000 gallons of water per acre per day. And that's a lot. That's a lot. So it makes it super humid and muggy in cornfields. Did you know that corn, the American corn belt, actually produces more oxygen per day than the Amazon rainforest at the height of its growing season? It's a true story. There's more vegetative photosynthetic activity in the American corn belt than there is in the Amazon rainforest on a per acre or per area basis during the height of corn production, corn growth. The problem is that's a 2-month period in the summer versus the Amazon rainforest being a 12-month a year. So, you know, it's always there. So, but still a cool fact. Well, I came back to the tile field to see if they were running. There's a wet spot. We're trying to drain that. They're still messing around with finding old tile. They actually found some of those old tile in the back, or at least one of them. So we're still debating what to do. And it doesn't look like the plow is going to be fired up anytime real quick. So we're going to go back to the farm. Sorry, I was hoping to show you it running. All right, we are once again up in our irrigated field. We need to investigate this tar spot stuff a little bit more. I was actually up here this morning with the agronomist looking at it a little bit. I get conflicting advice a lot, or conflicting opinions from the same person of, well, there's this, but that, but this kind of thing. So we'll see. First thing we're going to do is check our rain gauge, because it's wet. We've had rain up here. Definitely got more. Ugh. Another ½ inch. Not as much as we had back at the farm. Interesting, because I know about straight west of here 2-3 miles. Not even that far. 1.5 miles. They had like 1.5 inches over the weekend. So it varied some. All right, we're gonna go back to the spots where our corn growers entries are, both varieties, and look at the tar spot there, because let's be honest, that's the area we're trying to push the heck out of, so that's the area to be concerned with. All right, that block is my 12S75 that is in my corn growers entry, and dang, does it look good. Like, real good. Impressive good. But we need to look at the tar spot and see how bad it is back in here. I can already see some specks on these leaves, but nothing like we were seeing on the north end of this field. Why is that? Why is it not as bad here? A little bit more on that leaf. A little bit more developed. Raised bumps. Here's some. Look at that leaf. The underside of that leaf. Okay, so there's that. So it's definitely here and it's definitely spreading. Let's see what this side of the lane looks like where it's a little more shaded. Still there. Still there, pretty heavy. What about up higher on the plant? Are we seeing it up higher? Oh, I can't even reach up there to get to the leaves. We are not. It's all down low. Here's some. This is still below the ear leaf, and it's there. This is the ear leaf. It's there, but it's not near as bad. Okay. Now let's walk out in here a few rows, because whatever's doing on the edge isn't real important. What's important is what it's doing out here in the field. What happened to that plant? It died. I don't know why. I don't see a ton. I don't see a ton. We've got some deficiencies showing up on the bottom. This looks like a K deficiency. Potassium, fire in the outside edges of the leaf instead of the center of the leaf. Something that we need to address. I don't like seeing it, but it is what it is. The nutrient demands of this corn that's pushing this kind of yield is tremendously high, so I didn't feed it enough. Let me look around. Wow. Ears, look at those ears. Pretty good. I am feeling better because I don't see it out here. I don't see it like I was seeing it on the edges. I don't understand that. I don't know. Can anybody out there know why would I have so much tar spot along this edge of my lane, but as soon as you walk out in the field, you can't find it near as bad. I don't understand that. Because it's here. All right, we're gonna go look at the other variety and see what that one looks like. Honestly, I'm leaning towards not spraying now. To be fair, I've been leaning towards not spraying it at all because I don't want to spend the money, but I did talk to somebody this morning to see if it would even be possible. And what I really want to do, if it's at all possible, is to use the leftover chemical that I have. I have enough fungicide to spray this field sitting on a pallet at the farm. And if I could get them that and they would use it, then I don't have to buy more fungicide. That would make this feasible. If I have to buy more fungicide, especially a fungicide that I don't want, I'm not really interested. But if I can't find it any more than we did right there, and that was the bad variety, I don't think it's going to pay. So I don't think we're going to do it. But we're going to look at this one here and see what it looks like in this next lane over. Because this block is my 10D21. Also a corn growers entry, just of a different variety. Oh, this is driving me crazy. Driving me absolutely crazy. This is the variety that we couldn't find it in very much last week, or on Saturday when we were out here. This is the variety with really good resistance, and look at what I'm seeing right here. You guys see these leaves? Are you kidding me right now? Like, this corn's as good as dead. But is it just the outside edge? Look, this leaf is dying off already. You can already see it starting to kill the leaf tissue off. What in the heck is going on here? I'm so confused. It's over here on this side. All right, we got to walk out in it now. More firing on the bottom. I don't like seeing that. And we got tar spot out here. Like it's right there. And it's up here on this leaf. Oh, I'm so just, what do I do? Now I'm back to spray it if they'll use my chemical. Oh, frustrating. Frustrating. It's not as bad out in the field as it is right on the edge. And I can't explain that. I cannot explain that. But I don't know what to think. All right, well, we're back here at the farm. It is after 5, almost 5:30 already. I'm gonna go mow some lawn and wrap stuff up for the day. I'm pumping some water out from our containment dike, or yeah, load pad there. Tomorrow we're going to actually do some work and get something done. So we got to start getting ready for harvest, believe it or not. And you guys may remember that like a year ago, I ordered some stalk stompers for our corn head. Well, they didn't come in until, oh, I don't know, end of February. So they're sitting in a pile in boxes over there in the corner of the shop. We got to get them put on the corn head. So we may tomorrow load these shanks that we took up off of our sunflower chisel plow, take them to Berkey, put them in the barn down there where we're just going to store them, or maybe I'll just put one in the back of the truck and take it down there and something. But we're going to bring the corn head back. And I don't know if we're going to start working on that tomorrow or not. I might save that for Wednesday. Brock's going to be around. I think on Wednesday he can work on it a little bit. But we need to get that project moving. And also I have some two-way radios. I got some new Midland radios, and we need to get those installed. So we're actually going to put a couple in trucks, or we're going to put one in one truck for now. We're still kind of truck shopping, and I'm not sure if we're going to have a new truck before harvest yet or not. So I'm going to hold one back to see, and we'll put it in the new truck rather than an old truck that we aren't going to use as much, if that becomes the case. And then I've got one that we're going to put as kind of a base station, but not really a repeater, in the grain shed out there. So when Phil's unloading trucks and we need to be able to communicate with him, he'll have a high-powered radio there that should reach all of our fields around here. At least that's my idea. So anyway, that's my plan for tomorrow. So thanks for watching today. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. And we'll see you guys again in the morning.